Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Highguard. Highguard is a new game by Wildlight Entertainment, a studio consisting of some ex-Titanfall and Apex Legends developers. The game is a live service raid shooter, and it's trying to push the envelope of what a shooter can be. To break down a match, you'll pick a warden, a character with some special abilities, a loadout, and queue in with two other teammates in a 3v3 fight to destroy the other team's base first. To get to that point, there will be stages of the match from reinforcing, gearing up, grabbing the shield breaker, and finally, raiding. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat? All right, Chris, I know you've played Apex Legends, you've played Overwatch, you played Valorant.
That's
Does
right.
this not look like just a mix mash of all that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Henrik. I mean, I feel like Highguard is what happens when a hero shooter and a raid game and, let's say, a fantasy novel all get locked in a room and agree violence is the solution. So you're going to be, two teams of three. They're going to drop into these massive mythical map, and then you're going to build a base. You're going to loot the land. You're going to steal this magical sword, which I love that you said it like before the segment kicked in. He-Man, and then from
it reminded me of that though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But as you're trying to fortify the wall, there's a little bit of Call of Duty zombies aspects a part of this as well.
A little bit, yeah.
And so whether did you just kind of run into the abyss? Because I know that was my first fault. I wasn't caring about my base. I just was running in, and that never worked out on my first run through the game.
I did take the instructions to heart. At least the first two games I played, I was like, all right, we will reinforce the base where I think that they'll come in, and do every little step in every phase as they told me I should. Then I kind of realized something, Chris.
What's that now,
right?
Henrik?
So when you reinforce the base, it only prevents them from being able to go up and knock it down with their axe.
Right.
But if they have a rocket launcher, it doesn't matter, Chris. And everyone
That's
can
true.
get a rocket launcher.
Well, what's even amazing about this, Henrik, because I played it on my PS5. I even, they have their whole trophy system on there. I was surprised to see so many players jump into Highguard and not even do the tutorial. It's literally at the time when I jumped on the first day, it was like 6% of the people completed the tutorial. So when I jumped into the game, I had some of the worst teammates playing this game, and then a lot of them didn't have a mic on. Right. And that can ultimately kill the entire experience around this game, because it's very much kind of like capture the flag kind of a style. You know what I mean? You need to have communication. You have to be super glue with each other. You can't have just one person out of the three drifting on trying to do their own thing, and then you're just going to get ransacked over and over again, especially in this kind of raid style kind of game.
Yeah, especially when you have all those different phases. If you don't know what phase is what, you're gonna get lost. And like you said, you do have to stay with your team, because if one person gets caught out by the other team, they're probably gonna die. And now you're 2 against 3. And because you're only 3 people, if one person dies or even 2 people die, that is a huge detriment to the rest of the team's power, just simply because one person is a third of the team's power. So
exactly
it is very much a team game when it comes down to it.
Yeah, you really can't go drifting off and being like, hey, I'll come back and I'll go and do my thing. It's really important to really kind of solidify your base so it's really protected, build up the walls, take the time to go out there, and then you're going to go run out. And the first thing I would recommend is you got to go get that armor. Go try to find some cool guns. And then, what did you think about the whole idea about those blue crystals all throughout the map, where basically it's almost like a little bit of a rhythm mini game where, if you nail it the first time, then it's going to destroy a blue shard on the next one that you want to get. And then so you're collecting these shards to basically go to a shop vendor in game to be able to purchase stuff, which that was kind of very unique in a sense.
It is definitely unique, but I would say after the novelty of it wore off in the last it lasted a few games. And then after that, I realized something, Chris.
What's that now?
When you're going and doing these looting phases, it really is just a buffer in between team fights, right? And you don't really have a huge benefit over the other team for looting and doing the whole mining of the crystals and going back to the vendor, because everyone is on the same playing field when it comes to the upgrades, as opposed to a game like Apex Legends. There is a reason to go out and loot, and it's because you're trying to get loot that other people may not have yet. You're trying to get the higher armors. You're trying to get
that's a good point.
Higher ranking attachments for your guns and things like that. You don't have that sort of enticement to go out and actually loot. So when you realize that, you're like, well, now this is kind of just like a minute and a half of me wasting my time.
That's actually a really, really good point.
Could be instead just fighting the other team. I feel
right. There's no real high risk reward, which Highguard, high risk reward.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I did kind of find myself noticing that as well, where it was like I said in the beginning, I didn't find myself like running to go find guns right away. I was like, I want to go find all the armor. I'm gonna move really, really fast on my mount and get things rolling. And then mounting. I think that's a really important phase in this kind of style of game. And what kind of really sold you on it? Was it the bear? Was it the horse? Was it the panther? I mean, when I saw the panther, I was like, that's it. That's my go-to. I only liked it because it looked cool. I didn't really care about anything else.
You can't really beat riding a bear. That's for sure, though, I'll say.
Yeah, that's definitely
that is cool. I do appreciate that they put that in. And they had to put it in at the same time, though, because the maps are so big.
Massive.
And that is actually another down point for it at the end of the day, because of the fact that they're so big, and it's only a 3v3 game. Like,
with the two teams,
be bigger. 3. Yeah, I almost feel like there should be either another team or just bigger teams for bigger fights. And I say that because there's games out there, even from 25 years ago. You'll look at a game like Tribes 2. That game could support up to 128 people in total in the match. And it had huge maps as a result of that. But that meant that everyone who was playing on the team of 64 people could decide, all right, I'm going to, do some base defense, or I'm going to just be support, or I'm going to go out and actually try and capture the flag, or, destroy the enemy generators, things like that. And you had really cool objectives on top of that. Whereas with this, the only objective are these generators inside the base that you have to get into the base to get to. And I feel like they could have done so much more with it, where they just didn't. If you
I do understand what you're saying. I have seen some of those comments online where like some people are like, well, shoot, Concord had more game modes, and why didn't a Highguard provide that? It is a free-to-play game. You don't necessarily, you can pay for cosmetics and stuff like that. Yeah, they have their own little battle pass that they're going to be forming with this kind of style of game. But maybe, so do you feel like that was a bad idea from the developers to kind of slowly roll this thing out? Because that's how it felt when I was playing the game. I immediately felt the same thing. Man, I wish there was at least 4 teams inside this style of map. Maybe teams can join together to go after another group. You know what I mean? What if there was proximity chat in the game? It's like, no, don't go to my base, bro. Let's all get this full. They're all gaining up on us. They're getting all the points.
That would be
Let's
some
go
cool
after
interactions.
Right, and then it's like, becomes that kind of thing where like people I know are clowning a little bit with Arc Raiders introducing that squad versus solo, but that's where that kind of element can kind of kick in a sense, and it's like, wait, why are all these mounts coming after us? What did I do? And then that can be kind of a funny experience, and I think that's what's kind of missing about the idea about assembling a crew. I think you can assemble, teams throughout it, but I think it's also important to let the gamers know too, Henrik, that, Highguard features 5 large open world maps, like from the frozen high vertical mountains of Summit to the, the ruined desert settlement of Dustline. And so players get to choose from 6 different base types, which you can include, Hellmouth, Fortress. There's a multi-level Smuggler's Den that I seem to like because I want some high ground. But was there any map or base that stood out to you, Henry? As like a go-to favorite?
I'm gonna be real, Chris. None of them really stood out to me, unfortunately.
Really?
Part of that was because they recommend a base per the map that you're on. And I feel like I ended up on the ice map a lot. I'm forgetting the name of it right now off the top of my head, but I ended up on the
Summit
ice map a lot.
Yeah,
Summit, that's what it is. But it feels like, yes, the choice of having a specific kind of base layout is cool, but at the end of the day, when the gameplay isn't really facilitating that choice really mattering, like I was saying, anyone can grab a rocket launcher, and by the third round of looting, you're going to have a rocket launcher that is going to for sure kill any of those walls, even if they're reinforced. And at that point, it doesn't matter what layout it
Well,
is,
even
because
some
if
wardens
anything, the
have the
layout is going to
abilities
make
to
you
knock out
confused on where
walls.
people are.
That's a good point. Yeah, and like maybe the walls need to be like a little bit more solidified in game, because right now it kind of seems a little easy to knock them down even with just a gun or just walking over and just doing a little melee punch. I think that is definitely a legit argument that a lot of gamers will say about this kind of style of games, and I feel like the developers are listening to that, and that could easily be fixed through a patch note. But like lore wise, I don't know, Highguard lives at that like sweet spot where it's epic enough to like feel important, but it's loose enough to let you like ignore it while blowing holes in the walls. Like I get it, they're gonna try to hype you up like magic is dying, except not really. You have magic abilities. So like that didn't necessarily make any sense. And like everyone's using it, to smash bases, and then you're going to summon the siege tower. And I don't know about you, Henrik, when I first saw the siege tower, I was like, what in the Twin Towers? You know what I mean? It was like something like that. I was like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
First,
a scenic piece like that is pretty cool. Yeah, I will admit. I'm not going to say that that's not cool, See this huge siege tower come and smash a dome open.
and then you're a warden. You're like basically a magical mercenary, and then you're going to be fighting over territory on this cursed continent that just won't stop spawning these storms and the swords. And then that's where I'm curious on your thoughts on this, Henrik. I mean, did you actually care about the lore in this game, or do you feel like what really only flexes is the fact that you have these 8 wardens and each with their own abilities that are designed to really just annoy the other team?
Well, it is an interesting concept for a story, as minimal of a story as it is, as of right now, at least. And they could take it in a lot of really cool ways if they
Apex Legends was a little late to the party.
Yeah.
They had to start doing those comic strip things that everybody stopped reading after a while.
I did get a little bit of the feel when looking at the visuals, though, that things are a little not bland, but they kind of mesh, like they meld together a little bit too well, especially when you're in the middle of or actually when you're on one side of the map and you're looking to the other. There are landmarks, but when you're trying to find something in particular, it's maybe kind of hard to see what you're looking for if it's another person, and if it's in the middle of a fight and there's a lot going on, you might actually be even more lost because of how many things are going on, and visually they're not distinct enough to separate themselves. And I have heard maybe part of this also is because of the way that the game is rendered, at least on PC, where it actually kind of lies about the render resolution, and as a result ends up being a little smudgy. I'm not sure if it's the same issue you had on
not so much,
console,
but I did have certain teammates be like, it was kind of hard to find the blue shards, but then like it's like really they're like they stick out, but they meant from like a distance. And I noticed like sometimes when it turns into like a night style kind of a map, the blue shards are going to kind of glow a little bit easier for the visual eye. But I think that was a visual cue that they were trying to bring different aspects to this open world combat. But I'm kind of with you, Henrik. I mean, when I was thinking about Highguard, it looked like those like fantasy paintings used for those 80s prog metal band album covers. I mean, it was like wide open landscapes. You got the towering bases, the glowing storms in the sky, and those mounts charging through gunfire like they didn't read the danger memo. That is 80s prog metal for you. So I thought that was really, really cool. But then like, let's talk about the whole shield breaker phase. I mean, that is, I would say, is where the game reaches that peak stress. I mean, you're going to grab the sword, everyone's going to start panicking, and then suddenly the entire map is going to agree that you're the main character and you must be stopped. And so did you feel that stress when you were possessing the shield breaker?
I mean, you're marked on the map. It's basically like you're carrying a big sign saying, "Hey, please kill me, please." But at the same time, if you're able to coordinate with your team, there's actually not a whole lot of danger to actually just running up to the enemy base and then planting the shield breaker in their dome and breaking it open to go into the raid phase. Uh, there maybe needs to be a little bit more of a gameplay mechanic to prevent that, I feel like. And
Oh,
actually,
okay.
maybe there being more people to have to contend with rather than
Yeah.
just three people defending the base. That actually would alleviate that because the base has a lot of land to cover. And I believe there's like three different points where you can go insert the sword. So if you're able to just juke the team real quick and they get busy fighting your teammates, you can just run to another one and just pop it in there real quick. And then
Yeah,
they can't do anything at that
I
point.
think that's a good point because if you leave the idea of like the 3 versus 3 and you maybe expand the teams to be a little bit larger, like I don't know, 5 versus 5, maybe that might
Mhm.
warrant some players to be like, hey, I'm gonna stick back towards the base and defend the base while building up the fort. So we're really protecting it so they don't come in and
Yeah,
start, bombing the shit out of our base, right? Maybe
exactly.
that would bring it because like I know like they'll even notify you in the game. It's like, hey, they're about to attack your base, and then you can do like a quick respawn back to the fort and then really go
Mhm.
all out. But maybe they need to get rid of that and then make it so like, why are you so far out over there? You need to run back with your mount and get back to the base and protect it. And I think, people want to love this game, but it's not quite there. And I know it's getting a lot of flack right now. I know Jeff Knightley is like, with the famous meme with all the swords on him, like, why me? Like, why
Yeah,
is everybody going after
yeah.
me? I feel like he was just trying to do something cool for one of his, buddies in the scenes. And I mean, clearly this is the guys that, started, Titanfall and Apex Legends, but then weirdly decided in their gaming description on Steam to remove that. I don't know why. I mean, the
Mhm.
game looks like Apex Legends in a sense, especially when you're holding those guns, but maybe Apex Legends doesn't want to be associated with this game anymore. I don't know, but it's bold. It's definitely weird. And quite frankly, it's a game that won't be for everyone. And if you
Yeah.
ever wanted a shooter where I would say planning matters, the destruction is personal and then mounting is like a legitimate combat strategy, then maybe this is the one worth saddling up for. But, as the future holds with this kind of game, we'll have to see. But at this time, they got to be real with the gamers. I always do on pause or repeat. This is a pause. What do you say, Henrik?
Yeah, I gave it a fair shake and, played quite a few games. And I just it didn't click with me. Some of the things, like I spoke about some grievances of the phasing phases of the match. Some of the things like that and the size, it feels like a regression from what this game could have been, and it could have been so much better. And the unfortunate thing now is it's out and there's a certain perception of it. So even if they fix it, it's probably not going to get the same player count that they would want.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be one of the people who's not going to be playing it again. So yeah, it's a
Yeah,
pause for me
and the
also.
battle pass doesn't really like swindle you to even want to like come back to
Yeah.
earn more, even though they give you the first one for free, and then it's like, hey, once we move on, you're gonna have to pay for the next one, and it's like, I don't know, especially when you're playing a lot of those like in-game matches and you're not really getting rewarded enough of those. I forgot what they're called, the purple coins. You could be like
Yeah.
40 minutes into a match and you're like, that's all I get? Like something like 70 to, it's definitely under 100 of those purple coins. And you need like 400 just to get one item. So you're like, they need to fix that balance. It's not going to like swindle people to want to come back. That's just my personal thought on that. But we want to hear from you, the gamers. Are you vibing with Highguard? Do you feel like this is like the next frontier in video games where they're bringing something new, refreshing, and quite frankly, are we just bitching about something that we have like, come on, guys, give it a little bit of breather. Come on now. It's only been less than a week. We want to hear from you. Let us know what's good.